just facilities planning. That's not just having a facilities master plan that talks about consolidating or making budget cuts. It's talking about where we want to see the school district going with goals that can be achieved. And long-range planning will be a process that involves bringing in good consultants that maybe have differing opinions, consultants that are willing to work with other innovative consultants as well, but also making sure that we are looking at what the community wants. I fear that the trajectory that the school district has been on has not been one that the community has had much control in some time. It's time to plan for the future, and I'm very excited to do that.
Candidate Denzer.
I've read through the strategic plan that the district has put forward and look forward to that process. It appears that they've done their homework, used community support, used student involvement, and that the strategic plan really is student-centered and looking forward to a long-range plan that will be evaluated and done on a regular basis with, the plan being implemented and evaluated to make sure that it still meets the needs of the students in the community.
Candidate Shield.
The top priority in any strategic plan should be educational outcomes, and you should say to yourself, okay, what are we after here? What are the things we want to try to accomplish? And having done that, then you can start talk about other component things, whether they're facilities or whatever. But one of the things that I like very much about the strategic planning process that we're using is the title, which is sincere in this sense, and that is from the classroom to the boardroom rather than the other way around. The most important parts of the conversation are taking place among staff members who I understand are having some very serious conversations about things down to really pretty minute levels about what goes on in the classroom and what things are working and how could we address things, how could we make changes to get a better outcome. So I think that educational outcomes should be the absolute top priority for every aspect of the strategic planning phase, and I'm confident that that's what we're doing.
Candidate Sonneman.
In order to develop a long-range plan, we need to first engage the community. What does the community want? Not what do the educators working for 861 want, or what does the superintendent's office want, but what does the community want? But we need to reach a broad segment of that community and not follow pre-selected committees where we know the outcome because we've picked the members of the community, or excuse me, the members of the committee. And it needs to be done honestly. A big part of planning, as we would do that, we need to do this, is to have facilitators. If we're going to bring in outside persons, we don't need consultants. We need for somebody to merely facilitate, help the community find what the community already knows. This is a very smart community, but it doesn't always get the opportunity to be asked.
Candidate Hazelton.
Well, I think Carl summed it up best. I think we do need to engage the community, and they need to be a part of the process, not let them sit on the sidelines. There's such a wealth of ideas and vibrancy in Winona here. More minds come more ideas for better collaboration. I would like to see a long-range plan come to fruition someday. As of now, I'm not satisfied. I don't think there is a long-range plan in 861. That needs to change. That needs to be looked at. But as Steve Schultz says, the outcome needs to be based on the best education to give our students. All things need to be looked at educationally for the benefit of the students, not the benefit of somebody's resume or, I'm done.
Candidate Larkey.
Well, I think one of the most important things about long-term is where are these students coming from? We need to put a focus on earlyhood child education, not only just pre-K, but birth through pre-K and so on and so forth. That's where your future is coming from. I think you also need to, like other candidates have stated, engage with the community. What are they seeing? What do they want in their educational system? And then also engaging with the local business community. Fastenal is building a brand new building. Engaging with them and not getting what they're going to be doing in the future, but getting a sense of, how much they expect to grow, that kind of thing. That can have a big impact on what we do. We may need to add on now to make room for new students in the future. But ultimately, we need to focus on where our students going to come from in the future, and that comes from the pre-K, birth through pre-K.
Candidate Shul.
So first of all, I appreciate the process that took place with the last strategic planning that we've had that resulted in the referendum proposal. I think that it consulted stakeholders, namely community members and teachers. I think we need to, I do think we need to consult with people and actually study this. And I know some of these people across the United States. I think we need to consult with them. We need to deliberate, and get a plan, and then follow through with it. Thank you.
Our next question. How would you propose to reduce busing costs? And our first candidate will be Candidate Shul.
I would talk to Superintendent Dahlman. I would talk to the companies that we hire for the buses. I would listen to community members. Before I make any fiscal decision on that front, I would want to listen and handle this with pragmatism. That's how I would handle it.
Candidate Sonneman.
I think first of all, it's probably important to recognize that busing is not one of the large factor costs in the district, but it is an important cost. And second of all, it is an important principle or policy in the district. I frankly would like to see us reduce the need for busing. We made a mistake by removing a school from the central part of the city, and part of the reason for doing so was that we could put more kids on buses. We should be pursuing policies that say, how do we get kids off of buses, that they can walk to school, that they get the exercise of walking, that they're part of that the community sees this. And getting back to the idea that you don't everybody doesn't need to ride a school bus. It has never made great sense to me that we want to move in that direction. I've heard it expressed that the best way is we can control what the kids do if we get them on the school bus. But I've heard from many parents who say one of the worst places to be is on a school bus. It's ill-disciplined.
Candidate Hazelton.
Well, this one's right up my alley because of my previous tenure with the school board. I was on the transportation committee. I also drive part-time for our bus contractor, First Student. I have seen firsthand that some of our routes need to be streamlined and reevaluated. There is a number of routes that do cross over into other routes. There is some room for eliminating a route or two, and I know this based on personal knowledge. But the other side of the coin is that not every student lives within a mile of their school. For example, if you're down in Dresbach, you're probably going to need a ride to WK. Or if you're in Minneska, you're going to need a ride to get to Goodview School. So there is some room for efficiencies. We need to work with the transportation coordinator and the contractor and reevaluate some of these routes. Thank you.
Candidate Shield.
The current, I'm pretty sure that the last time that we did a contract for the busing, for the two-tiered busing system, what we came up with was something like $700,000, was a savings of $700,000 over what it had been before. I may be a little off on the numbers. We've got a long school district, and when you think of the topography, As Ted said, if you live in the southern part of the district, you need a ride to one of the schools. I think the best thing that we can do is to continue talking with, so number one, we've already taken steps to try to economize on the busing that's necessary. I think beyond that, the best thing we can do is keep looking at the routes. Maybe, as Ted says, there are some routes that could be looked at and reevaluated, but keep looking at it and do the best we can. I think that busing is a reality in the situation in the system, and I don't know how we can get around spending money on it.
Candidate Denzer.
A 40-mile distance from one end to the other of the district makes it really complicated to do this, tiered system. But evaluating it and looking at it on a yearly basis makes sense. I know that our students need to be brought to school, but are there some other efficiencies we can put in place to be able to maximize, our busing system? The training of bus drivers in PBIS, which the district just subscribes to, has been a very helpful thing. We did some training for PBIS, and having our bus drivers be able to use the same words that they use in the schools makes a difference for how our students can safely get to school. But evaluating, I think, is key and critical to making sure we can move forward.
Candidate Sims.
The best solution to reduce busing costs is to make sure that we have walkable neighborhood schools in our district. We need to put the schools where the students actually are, not try and make people all bus into one location. We need to focus on making sure that we're actually in the same geographic area as where somebody is growing up. And we need to make sure that we have safe routes to schools for those walkable, bikeable locations. We need to partner more with the city. We need to partner more with other surrounding institutions like Winona State. And we need to make sure that people can actually